Happy Saturday morning. It is time for the reality of real estate. And hope there's still some Snickers bars and some Reese's peanut butter cups by the door when the open house begins. Cynthia here from Find Homes Realty with us. Cynthia, happy Halloween weekend. Did you have a lot of trick-or-treaters by you?
Indeed, indeed we do. Yeah, we live in a neighborhood that it doesn't have street lights though. So
Oh
yeah,
boy.
everybody had to have a flashlight. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to
And
do that. But so
yeah.
many of these places are doing, and I know almost all the churches do a trunk or treat at some point,
Ye
around Halloween,
yeah.
and all the shopping areas now, come on down for the safe trick or treating and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fewer and fewer neighborhoods are doing it. And I know some of the HOAs actually say no trick or treating.
Some of them do, and unfortunately that is a well, let, remember when we were kids? And
Vaguely.
we, okay, vaguely, exactly. And what we had to worry about, what our parents had to worry about, is things like, literally a razor blade and dug into an apple,
Hmm. Hmm.
or something like that. Literally, I remember those things. So remember, we used to go bobbing for apples, and
Oh,
we would,
sure.
do that sort of thing,
So
and the
one
whole
house in the
neighborhood.
neighborhood would have the music speakers in the
Hmm.
window, and oh yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And some sicko would put a razor blade in the apple,
Yeah.
and whoever got it got it. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that when you're bobbing, your head is down in the water, and you bite into an apple, and you haven't seen that apple,
No,
and it
no.
is a huge surprise and can do some very serious damage.
And it
And
did for a
it
while. It did. We
it
had
did.
in New York. We had warnings. People were injecting apples with stuff, and
Hmm.
we was basically told anything that's not wrapped, throw it away.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, exactly. And it's and because it used to be back, another generation ago, it used to be where people would make their own treats,
sure.
and everything was cool. And
Yeah.
now it's even worse. You can have a little fentanyl pill and it
Oh my
literally
God.
kills you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and I guess that's the evolution of anything in the world. I mean, what are we
Hmm.
celebrating? A lot of folks have people over, and have all the kids over to the house for that kind of thing. And that kind of goes back to the bobbing for apples stuff, the
Yeah,
one house in the neighborhood and stuff like that.
exactly.
Is this time of year? I mean, I've got leaves everywhere. It's so autumnal looking.
Yes,
This is like Norman Rockwell stuff. Does this
it
help when
is.
you're selling a house? Is this a busy time
It
in
is
real
very
estate?
busy. As a matter of fact, it's hard to get a hold of a photographer these days because everybody wants their house, even if they're not getting ready to sell. They would love to have a drone picture of their house, in the beautiful autumn leaves
Oh
and
yeah,
gorgeous, especially if they have like mountain views or something like that. And
yeah.
yeah, it's
Show
just
off their
beautiful.
property.
Hmm. I'll tell you, yeah, we did go to a trunk of treats is what they called it, and that was lovely. And we had my grandchildren. The 11-year-old granddaughter was a damsel in
Oh,
distress. Yes,
gotcha.
so it's medieval, right? And then
Nice.
yeah, and then one of
The
her
classic.
twin boys was a knight in shining armor, and then the other twin boy was a dragon.
Oh, so it's a whole theme you had going there. That's
Uh-huh.
good. Oh, that's
Yeah, it
good.
was really cool.
Very
But
nice. Very
well,
nice.
I thought I'd tell you at since we're kind of on the topic, some scary stories of what happened to me in my real estate career.
Really? You
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
scary, like spooky scary, or like,
to some
warnings?
degree.
Okay.
To some degree. So this episode is grim event, death, hauntings.
Oh,
Red
are we
flag?
doing are
Yeah.
we doing one of those ghost hunters
Yeah.
episodes? Do we
You're
need to shut
right.
all the lights off?
Exactly. And do agents disclose? So,
Oh,
yeah, uh-huh.
yeah.
hmm So, I mean, if you don't believe in ghosts and goblins, then, that's perfectly up to you. But at the same time, are we required to disclose
Mm,
if a place is considered haunted? And the short answer is no. We do not, in most states, including Virginia, a realtor does not have to disclose if a house is haunted.
interesting.
Per
Well, I mean, how would
Yeah.
you even judge that? I mean, I guess you'd have to have like a government rule book as to,
hmm
well, we went through with the checklist and the county inspector said.
And it wasn't Casper that was, it
Yeah.
wasn't in there. But paranormal activity is not legally required to be disclosed. And so, but if a buyer asks a direct question about a haunting or a death in the home,
Mm.
then the realtor and the seller must answer honestly.
Okay. So
Okay.
if somebody says, "Hey, did anyone ever pass away here?"
hmm
You have to
Yeah.
tell them. Okay, well that seems
Yep.
fair.
Some states actually require a disclosure of like certain types of death within a certain time frame. Like California, for example, requires disclosure for deaths that occurred on the property within the last 3 years.
Oh, very
Yeah,
specific.
Alaska requires disclosure of deaths that occurred within the last year. South Dakota asks strictly about homicides or suicides
Hmm.
on a property, if that's the case. Um, and some states don't even require anything for those kinds of deaths, and sometimes they, like a protected class might is like someone who had HIV and passed away.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so
Your double whammy there is, what do you
hmm
have to disclose? I mean, I
yep.
know my grandparents' house, my grandfather passed away there.
Mm,
It was just natural causes. He was older.
hmm
But then, you have houses. My wife, when she was first moved out of her house, lived in Amityville, New York, as in dot 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 the blank horror, and
Yes.
was around the block from the house,
hmm
but still had
Mm,
residents in it.
mm.
And of course, every year at this time, the streets would be clogged with people
Yeah.
driving by, and they're like,
Oh,
"Oh, there
sure.
it is." They completely renovated. I think about 10 years ago, they completely like redid the facade, so
Oh,
it
good.
doesn't look like it anymore. But
That's good. Well, I will tell you that even though we don't have a tourist attraction like that around here, there are places that are
mhm.
considered having paranormal activity. And so, if there is something like that, and you happen to know about it, and you have somebody that's coming into town, and as a realtor, and you're showing them property, and you happen to know about it, and they happen to ask you, then you are required to disclose. This is what I know, but the best thing for the consumer to do is, you know what? Ask the neighbors.
Yeah, that's true. If you don't know, if
hmm
you look at the house and, neighbors, but neighbors can be a kind of double-edged sword too, couldn't they? I mean,
Yeah, they
I
can.
think you've talked in previous episodes about, be careful with neighbors sometimes.
Well, that's true because some of them just don't want to. Some of them want to paint a different picture than what's reality.
Right.
And that can be dangerous.
Hmm.
But you can do research online to see if there's any crimes that have been committed, or if you know of
Hmm.
an, or has there been any deaths. You can look up obituaries, things like that. And quite frankly, the if you look at the Virginia Association of Realtors legal team, they will tell you, the answer is no. So the only felony that you would have to be required as a realtor to disclose is the felony of the manufacture of methamphetamine.
Oh, like if it was a drug lab
hmm
in the house.
Yes,
Okay.
right. So,
And some of
but
that stuff,
otherwise you don't have to disclose, something that might have happened like that,
sure. But I
like
mean,
a death.
those kind of, criminal activities, you want to know in case somebody just shows up in the middle of the night because they remember
Yeah,
the address. That kind of thing
yeah,
can be very scary.
it can be. And the other thing is, this meth when it fill, literally it gets into the drywall
Oh
and
gosh, I didn't know
everything.
that.
Yeah, and it can be very very difficult to sell a meth house. Um, and we had some during the Great Recession
Hmm.
that were REOs, your foreclosures,
Oh yeah.
and but that is also considered um, material adverse facts. And so you're not under any obligation to say it, unless somebody actually asks you and you happen to know it, and just be honest.
Hmm.
You need to know that how important that is when it comes to people who are licensed. So you know what? Everybody nowadays plays amateur detective, so why not as a consumer, why not go ahead and do that, right? So you can dig into the home's past, and basically on its face, I guess you would, a frequent and recent sales history might be a red flag. So you can go into like the MLS and have your realtor do that and take a look and see how many times it's been sold and turned over. And if it's been sold every 2 years, yeah, might consider looking further, deeper into the house's past. And so
Sure.
I think it be anything, could be anything, could be structural issues, could be difficult neighbors, could be any, location challenges,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that could make things really pop out and say, wow, that's the reason.
Sure.
But it's not always a cause for alarm. But I will tell you this. I had, there's just a couple little stories. And I was doing a showing, so I was representing the buyer at the time, and I had no reason to believe it was going to be anything unusual when I
Hmm.
went to the house. I'd been dealing with these folks for some time and kind of, knew them, so I trusted them and they trusted me, and so we knew each other, and we went inside. I no sooner got inside into the foyer that I felt very, very uncomfortable.
Really? Just your spider
Yes.
senses went off.
Yep, spidey senses. That's exactly and I just felt like I was being watched.
Ooh.
Well, this was an older house, and I could not see any cameras or anything like
Hmm.
that.
Security.
And no security cameras or anything like that. And this was before before security cameras became such a big thing.
Okay.
And yeah, and so, but I did look around for security cameras just in case and see
Hmm.
if there was any. I didn't see any. Well, when it was time to check out the basement, honestly, Joe, I could not make myself go down those stairs.
Wow. That really creepy.
It was so creepy. And there was such a strong negative spiritual presence
Mm.
that I kind of froze in my boots, so to speak. And the buyers were okay. They didn't know what was going on and what I was dealing with at that time.
Hmm.
And, because I think I was able to disguise it well enough. But I don't
You
think
knew what was happening.
I knew what was happening, and I don't think they were in tune. And so, because sometimes you just got to be in tune, and
Hmm.
so they went downstairs without me. I let them go, right? And they weren't down there for long though.
Interesting.
Yep, they came right back up and said, "Nope, this isn't the house for us." And
Really
yeah, yeah.
interesting. What did you see? Was it the telltale heart?
I
No,
don't know what it was because I was not about to go down those stairs.
no, no. Well,
But that was definitely a no-go
with
for
an
them.
area
Hmm.
like this with a lot of older homes, though, I guess,
Hmm.
that can happen, when you get a home that's been around since, if nothing else, the 19th century.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, but hey, more cool things. It's not haunted, but it's more cool things on findhomesrealty.com/podcast if you want to listen to
Oh,
some of the
sure. Yeah.
recordings.
Yeah.
So that would be really nice. And please go to findhomesrealty.com and take a look at all of our agents and how much we can help you. And we do everything in the valley and everything on the Charlottesville side, and really enjoy working with all kinds of buyers and sellers, and love to help you. So back to another story I can tell you is this. Okay, so
Did you, just before
go
we
ahead.
leave this one, did you ever
Hmm.
find out if there was anything about this house that would have, made it feel that way? Did you ever get a history on the house from
I never
anyone?
did actually.
Okay.
I was like, because if I have a bad experience, sometimes would prefer not to know, and
Leave it behind you.
just kind of leave it behind me, you know? And I was so spooked that literally that I figured that I'd better not. I didn't want to spook them,
No, that's
because
fair. You're trying to do your best job for them.
right. And because they came, barreling up the stairs saying this is not the house for me, I didn't have to go looking, for anything.
Right.
If, and quite frankly, even, the listing agent, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but even the listing agent's not required to either. So if they'd come up the stairs and said, we're thinking about making an offer, right? Well, that's kind of a different conversation at that point.
Right. Now
Yeah.
you're doing due diligence on the
Hmm.
property and everything else. Okay. Well, I was just
Hmm.
curious. Never mind the man behind the curtain.
Yep, exactly. Well, I can tell you another time I was shopping is there was a time quite a while ago that my husband thought he was going to be transferred with his job, and we were going to be going over to like the Roanoke area,
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
thing. And so I got a hold of a realtor over there because we were real close to actually that happening. So I didn't think I would be wasting their time or anything. At the time, I didn't.
Right.
So basically I was shopping for myself. So I was the buyer. Okay. And so when I hired the agent, I trusted him. He seemed very, very good, and I know how to interview agents, like we mentioned in one of the other shows. And so uh, I met the agent at the property, and when he opened the door for me,
Hmm.
I was so overwhelmed. Just open the door, Joe. Just open the door. I didn't even step in the foyer and I could feel it. And it was so much sadness
Oh
eh,
gosh.
that I started to tear up. I could just feel it. And the sadness I didn't, I did, and also a little bit of fear.
Okay.
And I didn't understand why.
Hmm.
And I looked at the agent and I said, "Don't you feel that?" And he said, "I'm not sure. I don't know." And he said, it kind of smells musty. And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about that."
I know
You
what
know.
that smells like. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gosh.
And so he didn't feel it. And I ended up we ended up not moving there at all.
Hmm.
But it was very, very interesting. And I asked him because I liked the house. It's just that I was very sad.
Yeah. You
And,
don't want
and
that in a house.
I
That's not a
didn't,
good sign.
no, it's not. And I said, I would, this is how I'm feeling. And because you work in this area, I'm gonna suggest that you do some research on this house because someone else might want to come and buy this house and might not know what's gone on in that house. And he did end up finding out that it was basically a mass murder in the house.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the kind of thing I might not have any, and I know that there are folks who scoff and
Hmm.
say that shouldn't have any of that happened. It's gone. But I think there really is energy that
Hmm.
houses pick up,
Hmm.
and I think there is an intangible to those places where crimes have taken place. I mean, there was
Yeah.
you may remember a guy named Son of Sam when
Hmm.
I was 14
Yeah.
when he was going on his rampage
Hmm.
and just starting dating too. So my mother was very hypersensitive about Son of Sam stories, but he struck outside of a nightclub along the route I would walk to
Hmm.
middle school.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Mm.
I mean, I didn't see it. I just, happened to walk past all this police tape and everything else. I'm like, gosh, what happened? That business never recovered. People stopped
No.
going there
Oh.
for the nightclub,
Hmm.
but then it became, like a chain restaurant and nobody went there. And
No.
then it became a different chain restaurant and nobody went there.
Yeah.
It was like the property where it happened became cursed by it as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately that is a stigma that you oftentimes can't be overcome.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm thinking as a realtor, what would we do? Well, we'll just make it a haunted house.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You just turn the negative into the positive.
There you go.
See if Gomez and his wife want to buy it.
That's right. Just put, uh, you know, just take the ugly thoughts and turn it into turn it around into marketing it as something that people wouldn't expect.
Sure.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You find that couple who's like, we love this. When they walk up wearing all
Hmm.
black in the
Yeah.
middle of July, you're like, okay, I have just the house for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I have another one that's kind of cute. There,
Sure.
I went in, and there was so we were going through each place, each room, and we went into the primary bedroom. And as we go into the primary bedroom, I was like stunned. I was just stunned at what I saw.
What was it?
The entire ceiling in the primary bedroom was mirrored,
Oh boy.
and there was this kind of jungle gym that was hanging from the ceiling
Oh boy.
with chains and
Oh my God.
whips and all,
So
all
they
this
didn't
other
really
kind of stuff.
stage this house very well, did they?
No, they left it that way. My buyer, I said to my buyer, I said, you know, well, here's the primary suite. If you're welcome to go in there and take a look, I'm not sure what your reaction is going to be. And so they walked in and they said pretty much nothing. And then they came back out, and that evening they called me and said, we want to make an offer on the place.
Don't ask, don't tell.
And I said, well, you know what? That's great. Now let's talk about personal property.
Right.
So, yeah. So, do you want the primary bedroom to have, that kind of staging whatever they were doing? And they said, "Oh yeah, we want that written into the offer."
Oh, they wanted the stuff
They
that was
wanted
left.
it.
Hey, you know what? Like I said, you never know. You do. I'm sure you do your business long enough. You meet folks in all sorts of places and
Yeah.
walks of life, as it were.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I would have never guessed, but you just
Your
never
first
know.
reaction is, "Oh my gosh, who left this here?"
Mhm.
You've said this on previous programs. Who was the young lady you had with you that does all your staging for you? She was terrific, but that you really want to make it as generic as possible so that the
Yeah,
buyer can see their stuff in it.
exactly. That's exactly right. And was just nuts, absolutely nuts. And it was so funny because when and we they won the bid obviously, and everything was copacetic, but it was so I was just so fun. It was kind of funny, and I'm like, well, that's Halloween every day, I guess, and you know.
You know what? And that's it. And if they hadn't liked it, you say, well, we'll have a contractor come and pull it down or whatever, or you try to get
Yeah.
the property seller to do that. That's
Right. Right, exactly. And so anything is negotiable, right? And so we put it in the personal property agreement that
yeah, no, it's
everything was going to stay in there. And seller was fine with it. They were okay with it, you know.
must have made
Le
those
leather.
closing interview, those closing
Oh yeah.
negotiatings a little interesting.
Right. As there, I guess, okay, well, we'll leave our, chains and leather
Swings.
and whips and everything behind, and we'll just let it go with that.
You know what? There's a
Uh,
there's a there's something every different strokes for different folks, I guess is what it is. But
that's
you know,
true.
that's the thing about homes, and I'm sure it is where you are because
Hmm.
any number of years somebody's in a home, it starts to get personalized. I mean, you can't help it. There's
Yeah,
going to be, you know, markings on the wall where kids were, or
sure.
those kind of things.
Hmm.
Some of that is hard to get rid of when you're selling a house, especially if it's a home that a lot of kids have grown up in.
That's very true. That's very true. And I would say, and I will tell you a very sad story, because I remember us talking about Mitchell Hash Foundation.
Hmm.
I helped my son and his wife um, purchase a lovely townhome, and and that's where he took his own life.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And so, I knew the rules, that as the listing, we didn't have to disclose what had happened, but everyone knew. And so I knew the buyers would find out anyway, and that's
Gosh.
okay. But it was so very, very difficult, um, because it was just uh, not
Doubly
only
so.
just doubly so. Yeah, yeah.
Because it's your family
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
the sadness of what happened there
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
happens. I mean, I think about all the years in Charlottesville and the crimes that have been committed in
Hmm.
homes, and homes are still there, and
Yeah.
there's somebody new on Rugby Avenue or somebody new
Yeah.
in Scottsville in these properties, and you say, oh, it's
Yep.
tough. It is
Yeah.
tough. That must
Yeah.
have really been tough for you. My heart goes out to you.
Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to, they can. We send out all wristbands and cards, and um, we like helping people. And so, if you would like, you can go to donate to the number two, donate to mhf.com.
MHF.com. Okay.
Mitchell Hash Foundation. Yep. And so that would be helpful for anybody that might need an encouraging word. We pay for counseling for people, and we end up helping in raising money for large groups, like we talked about Spark
Yeah, yeah.
and Region 10 and things like that.
And
So,
so often it's just a
hmm.
word, it's an evening, it's hey, can you sit with me for a while? Those kind of things.
Hmm.
Sometimes just 15 minutes to get you around a curve.
Yeah, that's right. That's sometimes all you need.
Well,
So
that's
I
well
would
said.
like to
Well said.
encourage folks that this is a season, and it's beginning the season. This is a fun kind of thing. And what I don't like to see is the stores that have Halloween on one side of the aisle and Christmas on the other. It just seems like
Rushing into things.
rushing into things. If at the very least it seems blasphemic in a way, but it's what I would like to encourage folks is during the holidays you have a very difficult, sometimes it's more difficult than ever, because you've lost a loved one, or you have and when your number is called, unfortunately there's never a good time And probably one of the worst times is during the holidays.
Absolutely.
So,
But it's also the hardest time for folks who are struggling with things as
mhm.
well, because everything that we do seems to say, "Isn't this a joyous time?"
Mhm.
And if you're not, well, thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate that. And it's a great reminder on this Halloween weekend. And a lot of folks
Yeah,
trunk or treats around this weekend.
that's right. That's exactly
Enjoy.
right.
And we'll talk to you again next Saturday.
Take care, guys.